Hi, everyone, and welcome to this live session, KodeKloud Live. We're going to chat with Julia Morgado in this session, and among a lot of other things, she is AWS community hero. She's CNCF ambassador, and we'll hear all about her journey in how she got into tech in the first place, because it's quite an impressive story. But before we do that, first, let me tell you a little bit about Free Week and KodeKloud, which is why we're doing these live streams in the first place. KodeKloud normally has only paid access, but for this week, we have a special. From the 25th of September until the 1st of October, all our labs and courses are 100% free for this week, all in the mantra of knowledge sharing. We have around 65 plus premium courses and more than 500 interactive labs. You'll get access to KodeKloud Engineer, which is kind of a real life exercise where you get to go through a real project and implementation and learn in that way. Here we have a little example of what the labs look like, for example. You'll get prompt questions with multiple choice. You'll have to actually go into a terminal yourself. It's all a sandbox environment, and you can get to learn outside of your machine. So you don't have to install anything. Everything is plug in and play. You get to click on what you want to learn, and you'll get to do so immediately. Let me show you some of the learning paths we have, because there's quite a lot. So from Kubernetes until DevOps, if you want to be a platform engineer, if you want specific tool-based or domain-based technologies, HashiCorp is in there, Docker is in there, and even cloud-based environments, AWS, Azure, GCP, it's all there. Let me go to the DevOps engineer, for example. It all depends on your skill level. So whether you know nothing, whether you know kind of the basics, or you want to go into in-depth topics like infrastructure as code, we got you covered. You basically select what your base level of knowledge is, and then we have a learning path for you. So it's really tailor-made depending on where you start. And we take you through and we really guide you in more advanced topics in that way. Also, we know everyone's really busy. So depending on what you can spend during the day, whether you can spend a few hours or even more than that, we can guide you and advise you on how long these courses take in more so a general way. And you can even start with the test to see if you're actually ready with the skill path. Again, check it out. There's a lot of material in there, which is awesome to see. But for now, I'm going to welcome Julia to the show, and we can get it started. Hi, Julia. How are you?
Hi, awesome. I'm great. How about you?
Good as well. I love your setup. I love your background, actually. It looks
Thank
really
you.
cool. Mine is super plain
Did you
because I
see?
got
Yeah.
kind of a bare bones.
Everyone notices this sign and like everyone laughs. Can you read it? I don't know if it's like backwards.
It's a bit small for me. It might even be backwards,
It
actually. What does it
says
say?
maybe swearing will help. Yeah,
Is that like
especially
a...
when debugging. Oh my god, like swearing definitely helps when you're trying to debug something.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
So for this conversation, can you share a little bit about the audience, about what you do now, and then we can move into how you got there in the first place?
Yes, of course. So currently, I'm a DevRel. My role is called Global Technologist, but it's the same as a DevRel, Developer Evangelist, Developer Advocate at Veeam. We are a backup software company. And what I do mostly is travel around the world to meet people, be in tech communities, and share about technologies, about data protection technologies, cybersecurity tips as well. Also, I create a lot of content, so written content on blogs and YouTube videos, like tutorials, etc. So this is mostly what I do, and I like to explain that I get the feedback from the people, the community, and I give that to the product management team at our company, and vice versa. Whatever we are implementing and updating, new updates, etc., I bring that back to the community. So every time I'm at a conference, I tell them what we have new at Veeam and everything like product updates, etc. So I'm kind of like a bridge between the product management team and these technical communities.
Yeah, so you gather all the feedback and you make sure that
Yes.
it gets prioritized and implemented
Hmm.
accordingly. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Hmm.
How
Yeah.
how'd you get into this in the first place? Because I looked into your background, and you're not actually you don't have a technical background.
No, yeah, my background, my story is like that. I joke because long story short, I'm from Brazil. You might have noticed because of my accent, and I went to law school in Brazil, so I'm a
Mm,
lawyer. When I moved to the US, I studied business and I worked in marketing for many years. And my last job was at an MSP, a managed service provider. Like we provide services to other companies, when they outsource their IT department. And I was working closely with all kinds of engineers and learning more about different tools. And this was during and then like the pandemic started, and I did a coding boot camp, a free coding boot camp online
mm,
called 100 devs. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of it. It's a great program, free, and you can do it on your own, like your own pace. And after that, I started, meeting people, networking, creating content. Because of my background in marketing, I always liked creating content. So I like to call it learning in public. Whatever I was learning, I was creating a piece of content. So blog
mm,
post or a Twitter space or a YouTube video, anything. And I think this really helped me put myself out there, and people started knowing me on social media, on LinkedIn. And that's how I got my job. So my colleague Michael Kate, he we met on Twitter, and then we met in person after at KubeCon, the Kubernetes conference. And he said, I want you to come work at my company, in my team.
mm.
I said, sure, why not? Like I didn't know anything about Vim back then. And
Yeah.
then I had a few interviews and with the hiring manager, who is my manager nowadays, and it went great. And he said, "Yeah, you're definitely a great fit for our team." So a mix of technical, also like a people's person, a great communicator. I think they were looking for that, which is it's great for, like I was gonna tell here in this interview, it's great for people to have communication skills,
Mm,
especially like tech. You
yeah.
don't people usually they don't have a lot, so if you have good communication skills, you can stand out in the crowd.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, communication skills are interesting because they're not really a technical skill, right? They're more so a
Hmm.
life skill. They go
Yeah,
beyond what you do on a work and a professional basis, and it
yeah, like
translates to
soft
your personal life.
skills. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And you
Yeah.
probably took those skills from your non-technical background and you brought them with you, right? Because you don't really lose those.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Because, since I didn't have a lot of technical skills, I tried enhancing my soft skills, and it really helped me. Because nowadays, I'm still learning, the technical
Hmm.
part, and I'll always learn. There is always new things to learn with tech. Like there are new things coming up every day.
Yeah.
So I have strong soft skills, and that's how I sold, like my myself in the job market, like strong soft skills. I have good technical skills. I'm always learning, and I'm always open to learn. I have a good problem solving skills. So that's what employers want to see. Even if you don't have strong technical skills, if they see that you're hungry for knowledge, hungry to learn, then like they'll definitely give you a chance.
Yeah, I can imagine. One of the things
Hmm.
you mentioned when kind of talking about your learning journey was that you created content while you were still learning. But that's
Yeah.
kind of opposite of what most content is, right? Most content is created by people that really know their stuff.
Hmm.
Then they create an
Yes.
article that adds value. But you did it while
Hmm.
you were still learning. How was
Yeah.
that? Because for me, it would kind of be scary putting myself out there while I still really am learning.
For you and everyone else. But there is a lot of value in writing content when you're just starting out, because other people will appreciate your point of view.
Hmm.
Like even I tell people, you should start contributing to open source from day one. And you don't need to contribute with coding. Like, you can start contributing with documentation or write a blog post of how you implemented that tool from a beginner's point of view, because
Mm.
that adds a lot of value. Though the maintainers of that project, they want to know if the documentation is easy to understand. If beginners, they'll be able to implement it by just following, those step by steps. So writing blog posts when you're just a beginner is great. And also because other people, they will get an example, they will get inspired by you. So
Yeah.
that's what I was doing from day one. I was creating content and showing everything, like all the hurdles, everything that was going on. I have a lot of imposter syndrome. I still
Mm.
do. And I share about that a lot on social media. I create videos about that. And people like to see that even someone that is already in tech and got a
Yeah.
job and is successful, which I always say, what you see on social media a lot of times is not the truth.
Yeah.
But I'm like super real. I share everything, because what worked, what didn't work, what was easy, what was hard. And that's what people like to see. They would like to see the real people. And even like when we're vulnerable, they appreciate that. So that's why I started creating content from day one, and it helped me a lot. And so I tell people, don't wait until you're an expert, because also you'll never be an expert, right? we
Mm.
we are never experts. There's also always like things to learn. So start creating content from day one. That's what I tell everyone.
Yeah, I can imagine it helps with regards to your writing skills, your kind of skills in understanding as well, but also
Mhm.
hopefully with your learning path, right? Did you feel like it accelerated your learning in that way as well?
Definitely did. Also, it demonstrated my skills.
Mm.
So when you're applying for jobs and you're competing against thousands of people, if you create content, you're already ahead of a lot of people, because it demonstrates that you know what you're talking about. If you write a blog post or you create a YouTube video, employers are gonna see that what you're saying, what you say, you really know, because you were able to create a piece of content. So that's why it's so important. It's not just like for yourself, but it helps for your career to create content. And it's something easy that people can do at any stage. So of course, at the beginning, it's kind of a little frightening. Like you mentioned, you don't feel like you're an expert, and you don't know if you should be writing about that topic. But I tell everyone, like, go for it. What's the worst that can happen, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why, like, just create content.
I
Yeah.
like that a lot. Yeah. You touched
Yeah.
on the imposter syndrome as well. And I agree with you. Everyone kind of feels it. And especially if you come from a non technical background, like I
Mm-hmm.
had programming in university, but it was not really the main thing. And I started out in operations and I moved to software engineering. And that's where it really hit me, where I was like surrounded by people that are really good. Right. And
Yeah.
especially if you're starting out, you're always surrounded by people that are really good. Do you have any advice on kind of managing the imposter syndrome, or how did you do that?
Yeah, you just have to keep going and have a community, a strong community. Surround yourself with people that will lift you up. So, and there are communities online and in person, because then when you're feeling the imposter syndrome, go talk to them and they'll tell you. I also have imposter syndrome. It's
Yeah.
very common in this industry. It's funny because in my previous industry, so in law and marketing, people don't really talk about imposter syndrome, but it's
Mm.
more common in tech. And I don't really know why it's more common in tech. And it's a great topic for another video as well.
Mhm.
But like, surround yourself with people that will support your journey. And so communities, online. You can join Slack channels, Discord groups. These open source projects, they all have communities, and they all want to help you grow. Also in person, like attend meetups. And I host a meetup here in New York City. Everyone
Hmm.
is more than welcome and invited to come if you're ever in New York. But people, they are like they become family. And then, like, if you're going through a hard time, if you're having imposter syndrome, you can, just talk to them. Hey, I've been feeling this. And usually they'll help you. And I think community is the best, like having a support system. Everyone needs that to go through the learning journey. And especially if you're not from a technical background, you need a community, because otherwise it's very easy to give up. Learning tech is not easy, but if you have a community, the chances that you will succeed are much higher. So I would say, yeah, have a community, surround yourself with like people that will lift you up.
I can see that. I can see it working, but for me, it's really hard to kind of find my community, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm,
If I've
mm-hmm.
gone to conferences and I really would like the talks, but kind of engaging with people would seem kind of daunting, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes
Mm-hmm,
you're with
mm-hmm.
colleagues and then you know
Yeah.
people, but if you're by yourself, reaching out to someone and striking up that
Mm-hmm.
conversation can be a hard one. Like, how did you
Yeah.
find those communities you're involved in right now?
So funny is that I used to be an introvert. People
Hmm.
don't believe me, but because nowadays I'm like a social butterfly. Anywhere I go, I talk to people, and it's a skill, like a coding skill. The more you do it, the better you get at it. So,
Hmm.
the social skill is the same. The more you go up to people and talk to them, the better, the easier it will get. And what I think is, every time I go to a conference and I'm by myself, I know that other people are in the same shoes as I am, as me.
Yeah.
So like they are scared, they are shy, they don't know if they should go talk to someone, or they're usually on their phone. So I'm always the one that takes the initiative, and I go up to them and I say, "Hey, how are you? My name is Julia." I just, every time I start, I shake hands and I say, I introduce myself. Hey, my name is Julia. What's your name? And I start a conversation. And people like that because it's not common. Usually, people, they are shy and on their phones. And
Yeah.
if someone comes up to them and he starts a conversation, it's great. And you just need one icebreaker, and that's
Hmm.
it. After that, like, conversation flows. So maybe, try to come up with something that you two have in common. Usually if it's at a conference, you have in common that technology. So maybe you can talk about, if you're a DevOps company, tech conference, you can talk about DevOps, or something recent that came up in the DevOps industry. So
Yeah.
always come up with an icebreaker, and then conversation will flow after that.
I can imagine. Did you
Mhm.
did you do that consciously? Like actually actively put yourself out there and reach out to people either in person or online, or did you kind of roll into this in the first place?
I think at the beginning I kind of rolled into this.
Yeah.
I wasn't, planning and forcing myself to go to events and create content and, like, put myself out there over and over. It just went automatically.
Yeah.
And then I saw that it was working. So opportunities started coming my way, like opportunities to give talks at conferences, or people inviting me to give interviews like this. And then I realized, the more I put myself out there, the
Hmm.
more opportunities will come my way. And definitely it's not easy, it can be stressful. And it's out, putting yourself out of your comfort zone. It's not something that we are all used to, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. Like, the social skills, communication skills, every kind of skills, the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Yeah. And I also
Mhm.
think to add on to that, if you feel like it's out of your comfort zone, usually that's probably where you learn the most as well, right?
Yes.
Because you've never done that. It is by virtue uncomfortable. So then you
Yes.
also are learning in that way to make it more
Exactly.
comfortable, get used to it.
Yeah. I like a phrase that says everything is difficult before it gets easy. So
Mhm.
like everything since we're born, everything, like even learning to walk, learning to ride a bike. I had a hard time learning to ride bikes.
Yeah.
So I always remember that as an example of like skills that at the beginning something is hard and it gets easy. But and nowadays for me, riding a bike, I can ride without holding my hands. I don't need to hold. But at the beginning was so hard. And for any skills is the same. So we just need to be consistent. I think like consistency is key for everything. And that's why it's so easy to give up, because like when it gets hard, we want to give up. And obviously we want to go back to our comfort zone, to what we are used to doing. But if we keep going, we push those boundaries, like that's where everything happens, magic happens, what I like to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. If we go
Hmm.
back to your learning journey, you mentioned you started out with a coding bootcamp, right? And you
Hmm.
also mentioned that learning is never going to end really because technology keeps evolving. There's new stuff that either make it easier or even a bit
Yeah.
more complex, but you get
Hmm.
more stuff done with them. So we still want to pick those
Yeah.
up.
Hmm.
Do you go a lot to like online course material when you're learning a new technology, or how do you pick up a new tool in the first place?
So yeah, I do go like when I first I'm first learning, trying to learn the basics, fundamentals. I go to online courses like KodeKloud, etc. But then I like to do hands-on. So like
Mm,
hands-on projects, implementing everything from scratch. And usually these courses, they also help because they have those hands-on labs,
yeah,
which are great. You don't have to implement anything on your own machine. You can do that on the platform itself. But I think like having hands-on experience is the best, instead of just watching YouTube videos or reading blog posts. I If you just watch the videos or read blog posts, you're not really gonna get that experience. And then it's gonna arrive that moment when someone asks you to do something and you're not really gonna know how to do it. So the hands-on experience is very important. That's why all these tools that have hands-on labs, they are great, a great starting point. And then once you get more comfortable, you can do it by yourself. You don't need the tool anymore. But until you feel comfortable, I recommend using this kind of tools, and KodeKloud is a great one.
yeah. It's funny how in non-technological domains, like in non-tech, I'm not sure if you have hands-on labs and more so hands-on experience tools
No.
like that,
Yeah.
right? Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
have like a workshop or like a training, but
Yeah.
I don't think
Hmm.
there's a platform where you can do hands-on labs for like marketing
Yeah.
or for sales, for example.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. And what I've seen in these other industries is that like the communities are a lot more closed off. So, and
Mm.
even I wouldn't say there is a community per se in these industries, but in tech there are so many communities and people, they want to help each other. So like from pair programming to hackathons
Yeah.
to like all these online resources. If you reach out to someone, I'm sure they will be willing to help you. But again, it's not just like reaching out and saying, hey, can you help me get a job, because I get a lot of these requests on LinkedIn and Twitter. No,
Yeah.
you need to put in the work first, and then show people that you're putting in the work and you really want to get there. And
Mm.
then people will be more inclined to help you. But if you just ask, oh, can you help me do something, no, they're not gonna take time from their free time to help you. So always like put in the work first and show like, oh, I've contributed to these projects, I've written this blog post, but now I'm stuck on X or Y. Can you help me? with this topic or with something, then people will definitely help you. And it has worked with me. I We were talking before. I mentioned that at the beginning of my journey I was having what's called a coffee chat. So
Yeah.
like I would reach out to people on social media and ask them for 15 minutes of their time to ask about their journey. And that was a way for me to network. Because of the pandemic, everything was closed, and I had to network online. And I had more than 100 coffee chats with people that are already in the industry. So
Yeah.
so that's how I grew my network. And nowadays I know a lot of people, that's how I got my job, because I met Michael, and then he referred me to the role. And nowadays, like, getting a referral is the best way to land a job, more than just applying on LinkedIn, clicking on LinkedIn. If you know someone that is already in that company, you have a lot more chances than just like clicking submit, apply on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Yeah. I think honestly, that is genius. Reaching out to people and asking about their journey, like as a point of view of really learning and knowledge sharing in that
Mhm.
way. I think a lot of people are open to that, right? To share either to help you on
Yeah,
your path or to share how they got to where they are. And 100 coffee talks like that is
yeah.
commendable. Like that's a lot
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
conversations right there.
Yeah. Hmm.
Really
Yeah.
cool.
And it's again stepping out of your comfort zone, because imagine you're jumping on a call with a total stranger that you never spoke before. You
Yeah.
had like one chat, a message with them, and then you don't know how they're gonna react, etc. But most of the times it was a great experience for me. And I even have a blog post about my how I would go about asking these coffee chats, etc. But after the coffee chats, I would put everything on a spreadsheet. So who did
Mm.
I talk to? What did we talk about? Where do they work at? Like, do I have any information like their LinkedIn or email? I have a spreadsheet with all these 100 people that I've talked to. And it's nowadays, like, it's a great thing. For instance, if I need to know something about Kubernetes and I've spoken to a few people that are experts in Kubernetes, I just go there, Control F, and I look Kubernetes. I can go and reach out to them. And
Yeah.
after these coffee chats, I made the effort to build a relationship with them. So like engaging with them on social media or seeing them at conferences, and now most of them became friends. So I think that's a recipe that people they don't do a lot and really works, especially for people transitioning into tech, or just like graduating and starting their career in tech. It's a great recipe for success.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think when you're starting out, it might feel like you're alone in this, but if you reach
Mhm.
out for help or if you ask for advice, you'll
Yeah.
probably find a tech community, your tech community around you, or even
Hmm.
abroad through the internet that is willing to help you.
Yeah.
Because even those people were where you were, right, at the start of kind of their
Exactly.
journey.
Mhm.
And this
Yeah.
is a way of for them to give back, right? To really help out
Exactly.
people that are up and coming and learning
Yeah.
themselves as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Definitely.
the best way to educate someone or really to actually hone your own knowledge is also to teach. So that's an opportunity for both sides then.
Yeah, yeah. And you learn so much by teaching, and it even feels good, right? After you've helped someone online or in person, you have that feeling of like accomplishment. So, and that's another point that I recommend people doing is like volunteering. Volunteer at a hackathon, or help out at a meetup, or like something online. There are so many opportunities online that you can do. And besides that fulfillment, you can also add that on your resume. And it's one plus thing, one more thing to add to your resume, to showcase your skills, to give credibility about your work, about your personality, about everything. And employers, they love that. because the market is very competitive nowadays.
Yeah.
Everyone with all these online courses, online boot camps, there are so many people getting in tech, like transitioning, and you have to stand out in some way. So doing these things really helps in like standing out and landing a job.
Yeah, I can imagine. I have a few final questions, but before we go into
Hmm.
that, if you have any more questions, I'm talking to the audience right now. Sorry about
Yeah.
that. If you have any more questions, feel free to put them in your chat and we'll get to them in a few minutes
Hmm.
then.
Yeah.
What I was wondering, Julia, is I get a lot of questions when it comes to what should be in my portfolio, right? I want to be a platform engineer, I want to be a DevOps engineer, or specifically software related, backend engineer, front end engineer. What should I include in my portfolio? And I have a real hard time answering that, but because to me, there's not really a cookie cutter mold. Like, what
Hmm.
does your
No.
portfolio look like,
Mhm.
and what would you advise to people with those questions?
Yeah, so my portfolio was always changing
Mm,
while I was doing the boot camp. Every week I would add something new, and that's how you need to do it. It's not like just you create a portfolio and you forget about it. No, you need to be always updating it and like include all your personal projects, whatever you're working on. Try to focus more on quality than quantity. So, like one or two big projects instead of several small projects, like a to do list, etc. Create one big project and do it from start to finish. So like from ideation until like you're hosting it on a cloud provider, and then
yeah,
like also all the coding, etc. Maybe you can create a CI/CD pipeline to push your code and showcase that on a website. And what I said at the beginning, write a blog post about that. Write a blog post of how you implemented a tool or something, and put that on your portfolio. So my portfolio had the project I was working on. It had also another part with the blog posts I was writing, and I automated that. So as I would upload them on Medium, Hashnode, and dev.to, they would automatically go onto my portfolio. And also my YouTube videos. So as I was uploading and publishing the videos, they would also appear on my website. So this is another project, and then you can say this is all automated. I use the X tools, X technology that to implement that and explain that, and people love learning more. So that's why what I would recommend. Try quality more than quantity, definitely.
yeah, for sure. Is that
Hmm.
also because I saw you're involved in a lot of communities, right? You're AWS community builder,
Yeah.
even
Hmm.
CNCF ambassador. Like, were
Yeah.
those the goals, and you went for those, or were those more kind of artifacts based on what you were already doing?
Yeah, they happened because of everything that I was doing. So I think that's the best way when you're working to you're learning, and all these good things happen not because you force, like you were looking to get that. It
Yeah,
feels so good. So just learn and give your best. Try to help people. Try to teach other people. What I say, learn in public, and opportunities will come your way. I was doing all that, and then like opportunities to give talks, opportunities to become ambassador, everything happened not because I was aiming to do all these, but because I think they appreciated what I was doing, and then it happened naturally. So I think that's the best way to go about it.
yeah. It makes it more sustainable, probably as well, right? Because you were already
Hmm.
doing what you were already doing. So
Yeah.
after reaching those goals, you just continue with what you're already doing, and you get better
Exactly.
at that.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
everything else is kind of an artifact of that. I
Yeah.
love.
Hmm. Yeah. Hmm.
Looking at the audience, let me see if we got some interesting question. Someone shared that they started learning today just because of this free week, which is
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I love KodeKloud. Yeah, it's a great platform.
Same here. Then
Hmm.
someone said they're trying to learn specifically Kubernetes, and they're asking themselves if they should start with Docker. This probably goes into kind of the learning path there. Do you have any
Yeah.
specific opinion about that?
I would say definitely start with Docker. It will be easier to understand Kubernetes. So don't jump that step. A lot of people, even I did that. Like I went to Kubernetes directly to learn that, and
Mm.
then I went to learn Docker. But no, like start with Docker, and then you understand more of the background and containerization, and then Kubernetes will become much easier. So, and probably on KodeKloud, you were showing the dev, there is a roadmap.
Yeah.
Just follow that roadmap. Whatever they have, it's like the best way to learn DevOps or Kubernetes.
Yeah, because I
Mhm.
think when it comes to more advanced technologies, having a good foundation, like fundamental knowledge, is really going to make things click and like put into place when you're trying to
Yeah.
understand kind of more advanced concepts.
Yeah.
Without that
Mhm.
fundamental knowledge, it's like learning a language, like an actual language, like French or
Yeah.
even
Hmm.
Portuguese in this
Hmm.
case, and then trying to understand like a YouTube show or something on Netflix while
Hmm.
you don't even understand like sentence
Exactly.
structures and basic verbs
It's
and
the
stuff like
same.
that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So focus on
Then
the fundamentals first. Yeah, definitely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
There was another question, which is more so about you personally. Is Are there any technologies you're really excited about currently? And then even more so, what are you learning currently as well?
I like everyone else, I'm excited with AI technologies.
Mm.
I think it's we only talk about AI nowadays. So all the AI technologies that integrate with DevOps tools. Even I'm going to give a talk this week, in 2 days in Chicago, about how you integrate AI into DevOps. All the CI/CD pipelines, etc. There are new tools coming up every day, and I'm always trying to learn more about cloud, more specifically AWS. So AWS services, but like cloud services, cloud native tools as well. So because I'm passionate about the cloud in general, so cloud computing, cloud native, which a lot of people think it's the same and it's not. But yeah, and DevOps. So I would say like cloud tools and DevOps tools. KubeCon is coming up. It's the
Mm.
conference for Kubernetes and cloud native. I'm giving a talk there, and the talk is gonna be similar to this interview, and it's from and my non-tech journey to a CNCF ambassador. So I'm gonna explain how I went about it, like how I was able to become a CNCF ambassador from a non-technical background. So you're having a preview of what the talk is gonna be about.
Yeah, I love that. Cool.
Hmm.
Then, based on that, I'm going to round it off here. Thank you so much,
Hmm.
Julia, for
Of
coming on. This was a
course, it
blast.
was my pleasure. Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It was my pleasure.
No problem. Before we round off, everyone, this session has been made possible by the free week that we're having. Go over to KodeKloud and sign up because all our courses and our labs are free for this week only. There's a QR code, there's on screen right now. Scan that and you'll get access to the page immediately. And other than that, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more free content like this, comparable, as well as more technical stuff as well. And we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Bye.
Bye.